And especially so beautiful to be together as we dive into truth. So we start, those of you new to satsang, we start with a question that's come in advance, online, and then we open it up to any question that anyone here might have. We come across so many difficulties and have our responsibilities for our family. How can we go for salvation? Well, first of all, in Sanatan Dharm, in the Hindu tradition, we don't actually talk about salvation. We talk about liberation. Salvation implies that we have to be saved, as though somehow we are damned or not saved. And we don't believe that. We don't need to be saved from anything. We need to be liberated, freed. And we need to be freed not from our challenges and difficulties and responsibilities, as the questioner has put up, like they were the barriers to liberation. What we need to be freed from is the ignorance in our own mind. And so fulfilling our responsibilities, whether to family, to the community, to the world, this goes hand in hand with liberation. This isn't something that keeps it farther from us. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna is so clear that the way to liberation is through fulfillment of our dharma, through fulfillment of our duties. So yeah, we all have a lot of responsibilities. Some of us to families, some in jobs, some to communities in different ways. Most of us have some mix of them. Some family duty, some job duties, some community, some to the world. We also have a duty to ourself, and that is to find, experience the truth of who you are. And that's just as important a duty as the duties that we have to others. But they actually go together. The dilemma is that so many of us feel that they are separate, and then we become in a situation where it's like, I'm rushing through my duties to my family, or I'm rushing through my duties in the community so that I can do what I think I need to attain, she says salvation, we say liberation, as though somehow my worldly duties are things to be pushed aside so I can have liberation. No. Whether it's the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, whether it's the teachings of the Upanishads, whether it's the Puranas, whatever scripture you go to, it's full of householders, living householder lives mostly, even the divine embodiments, the divine incarnations on earth, whether it's Bhagavan Krishna, Bhagavan Ram. Mostly it's those living householder lives, either already God or attaining attaining liberation, attaining enlightenment. So there's nothing in our scriptures that says, thou shalt push away all of thy responsibilities in order to attain liberation. It's all about, thou shalt fulfill thy duties. And through that fulfillment, as you realize you are not the doer, as you realize that you are just an instrument in God's hands, as you realize that those you serve are not separate from you, in that fulfillment of your duty, we attain liberation. So don't think of it as, a hobby or something that you just do in the evenings and the weekends when you're free from some other responsibilities. Think about every minute and every moment as you walking toward liberation, walking toward awakening, walking toward enlightenment. Through this fulfillment of duties, through realizing I'm not the doer, God is the doer. I'm just a vehicle through which doing is happening. And we surrender fully and completely to the divine. And in that surrender, that's when we attain liberation. When we finally get free of the mind and surrender it fully to God, that's when there's liberation. So it's through the duties, and yeah, of course there's challenges. If you read any of the scriptures, the epics, go through the Mahabharata, or even go through the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. It's full of all of the stories in it are all stories of challenges, difficulties, trials, tribulations. But then at the end of most of the chapters, whoever that chapter is about, most of the chapters end with, and then they attained liberation and merged into God. So it's all of these beautiful chapters and stories of different beings going through different challenges and ultimately attaining liberation. So whether we look at something as big as the Bhagavatam or something as concise as the Bhagavad Gita, or those in between, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, it's all about challenges. I'm not by any means an expert in all of the scriptures, but I've never heard of anyone, any story of the one who just lay on the beach all day and attained liberation. I've never heard of it. I don't think there is one. The one who abandoned all of their duties, all their responsibilities, left everyone behind to suffer, and then attained liberation. I've never heard of that Puran. They're all full of challenges, full of struggles. And remember, when we're telling the story of God on earth, when Bhagwan Vishnu comes onto earth as Bhagwan Krishna, as Bhagwan Ram, well, clearly, he could do it however he wanted. When Shankar Bhagwan is here, in form on earth, clearly he could write the story however he wants. But all of the stories are stories of struggle and challenge. In many cases, bajpan se. When you look at Bhagwan Krishna's childhood, you look at Prahlad's childhood, even from birth. And we're given these stories, I think, so that no matter what's going on in our lives, most of us can say, well, at least I didn't have people trying to kill me before I was 5 or 6 years old. At least my own father didn't try to drown me, or my own uncle didn't try to slaughter me. Right? What most of us are going through is somewhat more mild than that. And so we're able to look at these scriptural stories and realize, okay, so even when God is on earth, here's what it looks like. And that's when we realize, yeah, challenges and struggles are part of the package. And our liberation is something we attain through that, in doing our best, fully, sincerely, while we surrender fully and recognize we're just an instrument. Does anyone here have a question? Yes. Namaste.
Easy one to start with. I know what is right. I know what is wrong. Yet I keep doing what is wrong. Why? And the follow-up is, how do I stop that and keep doing what's right?
Beautiful. So, it may be simple, but it's not easy. And the reason that we keep doing things that we know are not right, number one, habits. Habits may be physical, they may be chemical. Smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, people may really want to quit, but the chemistry of the body makes it difficult. Yes, of course, they still can and must. But nonetheless, there's a chemical, a physiologic push to do it. Then we have more subtle layers of patterning, what we call sanskaras, or neural habits. Things like losing your temper. I may claim and pledge I'm never going to lose my temper, and then I do. Well, it's not physiological. It's not that I'm craving a fix. But it's that my brain, quite literally, has been trained through these impressions, through sanskaras, through my habits, to lose my temper. Every time you lose your temper, you actually make the groove deeper. And it's a very interesting place where Western psychology and Eastern psychology diverge. In the West, there's a whole sense of, I have to get it out. If I'm angry, I should get my anger out. They're now realizing that doesn't work so well, but there's been decades and decades and decades and decades and decades of theory of psychology around get your anger out. Punching bags, pillows, all sorts of things, baseball bats. As though somehow if you just beat a punching bag enough times, you wouldn't be angry anymore. Eastern psychology, and now the West is also realizing this, says actually, the more I hit a punching bag or a pillow, the deeper my sanskara of throwing temper tantrums gets. And so I'm actually, it's not punching bag or human. Obviously, in that case, better to hit a punching bag. But it's every time I hit a punching bag, that sanskara goes deeper and deeper, and I actually end up more likely to lose my temper at other times as well. So another reason that we do things that we know are wrong is we've laid a sanskara. We lay sanskaras, habits of cheating, of lying. We may say, I'm going to tell the truth. But if you've developed a habit of lying, it becomes really hard. You forget it's lying. I've actually joked many times that I believe that you could take the vast majority of people in India and hook them up to lie detector tests, and they would pass while telling a lie. Because see, what a lie detector test tests, obviously the machine has no idea what's truth or not. What it picks up is what's called the galvanic skin response, meaning my blood pressure, the little bit of moisture that comes on my skin when I get nervous, the temperature that rises when I get nervous. So actually what the machine tests is my nervousness in telling a lie. And it's so subtle that it picks it up. But the dilemma here, and not only here, but it seems to me more here than other places, is that telling what we call white lies has become such a part of the culture that even though we know in theory it's wrong, we learn yam and niyam, we learn satya, we should speak the truth. And yet, how many times are you supposed to meet someone, you're running late, the mobile rings while you're getting dressed, and you pick it up and you say, Hum rasta pe jam mein fase hue hain. Now, I don't actually even think that most people realize that that's lying. I mean, if you say to someone, but you lied, नहीं नहीं वो तो झूठ तो नहीं है, मैंने बस ऐसे ही कहा था कि आप शांत हो जाओ, आपको लगेगा कि हम आ रहे हैं. It's become such a deep sanskara that we don't even realize when we're doing it. And it's so common. So that's another reason that we do it. Is we literally we do it without even thinking. And the last reason that we do it is because what we want from what we're doing, even though we know it's wrong, in that moment, we want it more than we want to do the right thing. And that tends to fall into categories like hedonism, decadence, meaning I'm living only for this moment. So maybe I'm having an affair on my spouse, let's say, cheating on the spouse. Well, I would imagine that most people who are cheating every day say, I'm going to break it off today. I know it's wrong. I'm going to break it off. And then in the heat of that moment, in the passion of that moment, the desire, the sensual desire, takes over, and the mind says, Chalo jaake Ganga ji mein snan karenge, aaj to yahi kar de. Because what we want in that moment is stronger than wanting to do the right thing. Now, first of all, we need to know that those are not sins that Ganga washes away. What Ganga does is purify us in such a way that we become different. It's not a sense of do a sin, bathe in Ganga, do a sin, bathe in Ganga. She doesn't wash those away. She washes away the ignorance in our mind that makes us sin. And so if we emerge from her waters truly transformed, well then unki kripa se purane file band ho jate hain. But not if you walk out and you open them again. So in terms of the second question of how to stop, the first part is simply being mindful. In every moment, being mindful. Not allowing yourself to get swept up by a habit, whether a physical habit, a physiologic habit, or a sanskara. The more mindful we are, the less we run on autopilot. Most people who smoke cigarettes will tell you that they are halfway through a cigarette before they even realize they're smoking. That they'll say they're going to quit, mean to quit, intend to quit, and the next thing they know, they're, putting out the cigarette that they've already smoked without even being aware they were doing it. So this is where we need awareness and mindfulness. So that in every moment we are choosing. We don't become pawns in the hands of the chemistry of our brain. And in terms of the last aspect, this is where we really need to say to ourselves, what do I want in life? What do I want? I know where this path goes. But what about the other one? We're given, the Katha Upanishad, we're given this beautiful option between the path of Shreyas and the path of Preyas. Path of temporary pleasures and the path of righteousness, integrity, purity. And of course the path of Preyas, of just pleasure after pleasure, decadence, leads to misery and leads to us being stuck, not just stuck in this lifetime, but stuck in lifetime after lifetime. And the path of Shreyas leads us to liberation. But we have to choose. And so have a little bit of self-inquiry when we talk about swadhyaya. It doesn't just mean reading the scriptures, it's swadhyaya, studying the self. Why am I doing this? Kya milte mujhko? And is it worth it? Make that decision. And then stay mindful and aware so you don't find yourself running on autopilot. And it's definitely not easy in the beginning. But the beautiful thing about habits and sanskaras is, once you do it enough days in a row, it doesn't take years. It's a matter of weeks before new, strong neural networks are laid. Weeks. Just make a commitment for weeks. I'm going to change. And then for another few weeks. Do it month by month. And then you'll see. Slowly, slowly, there won't even be the inclination to go there. Beautiful. Thank you. Does anyone else have a question? Yes.
Namaste. What is liberation, and how do I even know, or how does one know where, when one attains or reaches a point of liberation?
So, liberation means freedom. Pujya Swamiji always says it's not like you grow horns. Suddenly you can say, this one's enlightened, that one's enlightened. Or oh, now I'm enlightened. It's freedom. It's freedom from all of the stuff that keeps you stuck. So as long as you are living in jealousy, competition, rag and dvesh, likes, dislikes, yearnings, aversions, as long as you're living in a fear-based, stress-based, desire-based existence, as long as you are identified as the physical body, or as its role in society, or as in where it's been, its history, or its bank account, as long as you are thrown off center by anything ranging from the stock market, the weather, someone else's rude comments or actions, those are all signs that you are not yet liberated. When you are free from all of that, that's what moksha is. That's what liberation is. Now, it doesn't mean that we're not connected. It's not a severing of ties. It's a severing of pain. There's a beautiful line in the Bhagavad Gita, actually, where Bhagavan Krishna says yoga is the severing of the union with pain. Now that's really interesting, because normally we think of yoga as union. I mean, literally the word means to unite. But here he said yoga is actually severing the union with pain. Means all of that causes us pain. Our egos, our false identifications, our sense of separateness, feeling separate from each other, separate from the divine, separate from creation, causes suffering. It's what breeds anger, lust, greed. So yoga, that ultimate union, is when we break that connection to pain. We stay connected, deeply connected, to the Creator, to creation, to ourself, to all. But we are free of that which causes suffering, because we're free of the ignorance. So that would be how you know. But the benefit, the beautiful thing is it's not all or nothing. As we move, it's more like layers. So I think about it as layers being peeled back. Like petals of a flower opening, right? Petal by petal by petal. And we get free layer by layer by layer by layer. And as each layer gets peeled back, we are freer and freer. And then ultimately they all get peeled back. Beautiful. Are there any other questions? Yes, we'll take this last.
Namaste. My question is, in your definition, what is the purpose of life, and how do we find the purpose of life? As you said, you have to detach from the desires and competition and everything. But if you do that, how do you survive in this world?
So the purpose of our life, the purpose of our life is not merely to survive in this world. Okay? That's the purpose only and insofar as we speak about Darwinian evolution. Right? Darwin said, the whole point is just stay alive long enough to reproduce as much as you can. But as spiritual beings, we're not just here to procreate. We're here to attain liberation. So, finding our purpose has very little to do, interestingly, with survival. We have to survive, of course. We've got a beautiful body. It's through this body as the medium that we attain liberation, that we attain moksha. It's this body that enables me to sit and close my eyes and meditate, that enables me to chant japa. It's this body that enables that. It's this body that enables the mind, the brain to say, neti, neti. Not this, not that. So we need to take care of the body, not just Darwinianly, but spiritually. Because the body is the medium for our awakening. But that's the beginning, not the end. And the way that we find our purpose is we stay really open to it. There isn't an equation, there isn't a book. There also isn't just one purpose that each of us has. This is a really big myth that's getting propagated a lot these days. Most of it tragically comes in from the West. This is not an Indian concept, that you have one dharma for your entire life, every minute of every day, only one dharma. Of course not. But the West has kind of given us this idea that I've got one purpose. It's going to be glamorous, it's going to be romantic, it's going to be fun. But that's a myth. It's going to be lucrative. It's a myth. We have a lot of purposes. Our highest purpose is to realize our oneness with God. That's everyone's highest purpose. But then we also have beautiful skills and abilities and individual dharmas, you could say. So we've got our universal dharma, and then we've got our individual dharma. Based on different sensibilities, different skills, abilities, different opportunities, different worlds we've grown up in. And the only way that I know how to find that purpose, that dharma, is to just be open, to be still, to be quiet, to not have blinders on what you think it's going to look like. I think a lot about the caterpillar turning into a butterfly. Now, when the caterpillar is crawling along on the ground, and it gets the signal to climb the tree. I can't be sure, but I don't think that what it gets is a signal that says, now's your moment. You're going to become the most beautiful butterfly. Get up there, show them your stuff. I don't think it's that. I think it's just a signal that says, climb the tree. And then as it climbs, I think it gets another signal that tells it to go out on the branch. And then as it's out on the branch, I think it gets another signal that somehow teaches it how to weave a cocoon even though it's never done it before. I don't think we've got, like a Tony Robbins of caterpillars on the ground saying, okay, now you're going to go up and you're going to do this, and really inspiring it and motivating it, charting its course for it. I don't think that's how it happens for them. I think it's just about being open in each moment. As the sign comes, as the signal comes, now go up. Now the branch. Now weave this cocoon. Now just sit still. Then suddenly now, push forth. And then now fly. And so I think for my own self as much more, how can I be open in every moment? Because I know my purpose. My purpose, yes, is to realize oneness with God. But in every minute and every moment, my purpose is to share love and peace. Realized that a long time ago. That's my calling, and whatever it means, whatever way, shape, or form, how can I, in that moment, bring love and peace in that moment in whatever form it is needed? But I have to stay open in every moment to know how it's going to be needed. And it's needed differently in different moments. And so, just stay open every minute, every moment. What does the universe want from me right now? What does the universe want from me now? And sometimes it's going to send you on kind of a long path. Like, an education. Okay, so you get into the universe wants me to get a degree in this. Okay. The universe wants me to have this job. Okay. Beautiful. But then stay open. Maybe the universe is going to send you even more beautiful opportunities through that path it has sent you down. You thought it was just the job. Now you found that through this job, you've got this beautiful opportunity in the job to be able to do so much more as well through that you weren't even realizing. Or maybe the universe sends you into a particular relationship. Okay. But then maybe through that, so many other possibilities for your own awakening arise. I didn't realize this relationship was going to be like this. Okay. Now I have this opportunity. Now I have that opportunity. Just stay open. Stay open, stay anchored. Realize that you're an instrument in God's hands. And allow the universe to use you. That is all of our purposes, to be instruments in the hands of God. So don't wait for, your purpose to come gift wrapped and fall through your ceiling onto your lap, and then you go, oh yeah, that's what it is. in this moment, what's your purpose? What does the universe want from you right here, right now? And then you move into the next moment. And the next moment. Beautiful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening. Beautiful morning or day to those of you joining from all over the world. So much love to you. And look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.